All right, now live. I forgot to charge the phone. I'm about out of batteries, but I just had a thought. Okay, let's do a little pond ecology and what's going on here. This is Sugar Hill Outdoor, our sample pond that we've been managing, live for 2 years. I like going live because you can't edit live. And I just wanted to address some of the stuff that's been coming down, the comments and stuff that have been coming down. And talk about basic pond ecology and how all this just ties together and works. So I do have an artificial feeder and I do feed the bluegill daily, but it does not make the nitrates build up, and this is the reason why. In Georgia, in the watersheds in Georgia, which is all the hills and land that lies uphill this pond, the water rains on the ground, comes through the ground, picks up whatever nutrients are there and brings that, and it comes into the pond water, and we can test the pond water for those nutrients. Well, in this area of Georgia, which is most of Georgia, you have to get to the southwest corner before you get any decent soil. It's all this clay type of soil like this, and it's all poor in nutrients. So since the nutrients are poor, the pond water is poor, and that translates to lower pounds of fish per acre than other areas of the country. So here in Georgia, we have about 100 pounds of fish per acre a natural pond can support. If you go to another part of the country, like the Midwest, like say Iowa, where there's really rich soil and really good water, better water quality, then you can have up to probably around 350 or 400 pounds of fish per acre. So when I use my artificial feeder, there's a balance to all ponds. It's kind of like riding a bicycle. They can go bad in either direction, if you will. So what I'm doing when I add the feed is bringing the low pounds of fish per acre that Georgia naturally produces up to a level like Iowa, around the 350, 400 pound of fish per acre mark. I'm not exceeding what would be, and I'm going to just use natural because it's kind of hard to use the term natural in a man-made environment like this, but that's what's going on. So when the fish eat the feed, which the feeder's right over here across the lake there, okay, so the fish eat the feed, and yes, they do use the bathroom and it comes out the other end, but on the bottom of the pond, there's a food web of bacteria that breaks that down. And since we consistently feed a measured amount every day, we're not exceeding what the bacteria, and see, the bacteria then has more food because of the food that are going to the bluegill. So when the bacteria build up in the bottom, there's an entire food web now of aquatic insects, and there are scrapers that scrape and eat that bacteria. So we boost then the aquatic insect population. Well, once we boost the aquatic insect population, 50% of the bluegill's diet, that's our main source of forage, are aquatic insects. So we haven't raised the fish population unnaturally high. We've just raised it higher than for this area. This type of management practice wouldn't work in another part of the country. You have to be aware of that. That's why you need a local biologist to help you. And the droppings aren't accumulating because we haven't exceeded the capability of what the pond can handle naturally. We've created an advanced kind of food web for all the fish because the bluegill take in those extra insects and take in the extra feed, and they get a little bit bigger and heavier, and then the bass eat the bluegill and they get a little bit heavier. Now, why are we doing all this? We're doing all this because to kind of combat misinformation that's been going on online for a long time about genetics. Because in this pond, I have northern bass tagged and Florida bass, so I can tell them apart. And since we have the perfect setup with forage, and we have two different genetic strains of bass that we can tell apart in the lake, we can compare and contrast the genetics of the fish and how they grow on the same food source. And secondarily, the man that owns this place, this Sugar Hill Outdoors, this is primarily an irrigation pond for fields that are over there and over there. The main purpose of this pond is to irrigate their commercial plants that they plant in people's yards and stuff. So we're taking, kind of an irrigation pond and turning it into a trophy fishery because we can. And it's because what the man wants. It's his pond. And also then using that to combat any misinformation on genetics and just kind of document what I've been watching, stocking different genetics in ponds. And I'm gonna have to cut off. Hey Frank, man, I appreciate you watching, brother. I don't think there's any questions. I just wanted to get that out because I had that idea, and I kind of work in this flow state where sometimes I can think of ideas and sometimes I can't. So that's what's going on. I appreciate you guys watching and learning and following and all the positive engagement and everything. And I'll see you next time.